Hey friends, I am so excited to be a part of your Mother's Day celebration. And so I am just feeling super honored to be sort of facilitating the fun. Today we are going to be painting a flower. And the coolest part about this flower is that your kiddo or your own mother or both of them can add their part of the flower here. You could even put a third part and even put a fourth part, which would complete a whole flower. So I have my canvas, I have my brushes, I have my napkins, I have my paint plate, and I have my acrylic paints that all came in the Artsy Rose paint kit. I always like to, and you got to go get a water cup and make sure that it's not a favorite cup because the acrylic water may not wash off the edges. Now, everybody just take a deep breath and remember that this is just to create a fun experience and a fun memory, and that there's not necessarily a wrong way to do this. That, you guys can either coordinate your flowers or each of you can do your own flower, and then it'll still be special when it comes together. Now, I have a certain way that I like to set up my plate. I do like to put all the white, not all the white, do not completely empty, because you maybe could use this for another project if you have some left. But I do put the white paint in the middle. And then from here, I know that I am going to have a brown center. So I am going to put some brown paint on my plate. And it won't take much, so I'm not going to put very much. And then I also know that I am going to need some yellow, but I'm a little nervous about leaving all of this paint on my brush. So we'll do a little brush washing tip. In order to clean your brush, it's going to go all the way to the bottom of the cup, and we will smush and swirl like a ballerina. That's what I always tell the boys to drive them crazy. So smush and swirl, wipe, wipe, smush and swirl, wipe, wipe. And then this next step is super important. I think I'm going to try to get a little bit more water out of that brush on the inside of the cup. No tapping. The water will go everywhere. And then I definitely dry my brush just by kind of sweeping it across the napkin. Now, I am going to get some yellow on my plate, just like that. And I can always get more, right? So just start out with however much you think you might need, and then you can always grab more. And then I'm going to get just a little bit of purple, and I'm going to show you a cool little trick to do with that. So get that on there. And smush and swirl, wipe, smush and swirl, wipe, and dry. There we go. All right, so now I'm going to just start out with these colors, and of course I may add some more, like I think I'm probably going to be putting some red on my plate, but I'm just starting out with the center of my flower petals, and white, and I need my background color. So you guys think about what color you might want your background to be. Maybe I want mine to be like a pinkish color. So I'm going to put some red over here. And then of course I'll mix white in to make the pink. So while I have this in my brush, I am going to go ahead and grab some white and mix it over here on the side of my red. Notice that I did not completely put it in my red pile. And the reason being is because red is such a dark color that if I were to just put white in there, it would take a lot of white. So you start with your lightest color first and then put your darker color in, okay? I'm going to start with this flat brush. If you feel better about using your pointy brush, you do you. You do what's comfortable for you. Make sure and hold your brush right where the metal and the handle touch. And don't forget that you can pause me at any time and then hit play again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to purposefully paint on top of the Sharpie lines. So I am purposefully painting on top of those lines. And if you get a little bit on the flower petal, we're not going to freak out about that because more than likely we can fix that, right? There we go. And then we'll do a little bit right here. Ta-da. Okay. Now you could go for like maybe a background where you start at these edges, like in the little center cracks, and then kind of work your way out like that. So it looks sort of nice and smooth. Now we do not want to see, I don't know if you guys can see, but we do not want to see any of those little polka dotty spots right there. That means that we don't have enough paint on our brush and we need to get a little bit more. So we can get that all filled in, and it kind of looks like a ray coming from the corner of the flower. That's up to you if that's what you want or not. If you don't, then you could always just fill it in by making swirls. There we go. So to me, doing the whole swirl technique is a little bit easier because it doesn't have to be perfect, right? So you can make circles, you can make U's, C's, backward C's, and just get it all filled in, okay? There we go. And just for fun, I am going to swirl some white in there as well. So I'll get the white all swirled in just like this. There we go. And keep swirling, swirling, swirling. Now, you do not have to do the white stuff. It's just if you want to. And that kind of goes for everything that I'm teaching you. I am just simply giving you some guidance. Of course, it is your painting and you do it how you please. And like I said earlier, if you want to coordinate with your family, like matching backgrounds, matching flower petals, or opposite, that's what my daughter and I did. She did like pink in her background and yellow on her petals. I did yellow in my background, pink on my petals. So that could be a total option as well. You could kind of do opposites. Right over here in the corner, I'm just going to do that little corner edge right there because then the rest of that will be the petal. And then over here, I'll work down this side as well. There we go. And of course, I've got to grab some more paint and get this little chunk over here covered. Now, hopefully you made enough of your color to fill your whole background. If not, you may have to try to match the color that you previously made for your background. And then if it doesn't match exactly perfect, after you paint the new section, you can go back and paint the other sections as well. And just kind of put a quick little second coat over the top and then it all matches. Now, like I said, I was purposefully painting on top of my Sharpie line. And the reason being is because I didn't want to have that harsh line, which those of you that have painted with me before know that that's not really my style. I do like to have a gray black outline, but not today, okay? I want to get it all covered up. So I'm switching it up on y'all a little. Okay, once you feel like you have a great background, then you can start moving on to other areas. Now, I don't really want to paint my petals just yet because I don't want to accidentally pull a little bit of the background color onto the petals. So I'm going to save my petals for a minute from now. I am going to clean this brush out because I do need it for the center of my flower. It makes a great smushing brush. All these art terminology, not official, they're totally made up. Okay, so we sweep that. You may even have to clean it again. If your water gets really yucky, you could probably go get fresh water about halfway through this project, because if the watercolor gets too, or if your water gets too thick with paint in there, it'll affect your paint colors. So you may have to clean out your water here in just a bit. Now for the center, I'm going to do a little bit of an ombre effect. And what that means is that I am going to grab some white. Okay, and I'm going to put it over here by my tan. I'm going to get just a little bit of tan. You could do the same thing with yellow or orange or pink, whatever color you want the middle of your flower to be. And right here in the corner, I think I'm going to turn my canvas sideways for a minute because I want to be able to get my edges as well. Now, some people don't paint their edges, and that's totally okay. It's up to you. Okay, so I'm going to paint, just like that. So I got the corner done. Let me show you. It's real soft. Okay, and then now I'm going to add just a little tiny bit, just a little bit, little ant size amount. Well, maybe a little more than an ant size amount. Oh no, red got in there. I didn't mean for that to happen. Better make a new pile of tan. New pile of tan. So lesson learned, don't put your colors too close together. Okay, and that is not very noticeable, so I'm going to add just a little bit more tan. And then I am going to dab my brush just like that. Don't forget your edges. All right, dab. And then I'll get just a little bit more tan and mix it in my little pile on the plate, and then add it to the canvas, just like this. And then I'll get even more tan, mix it into my little pile, and then dab. So all I'm doing is just dabbing, dab, just like this. Now, I should have already told you this, and hopefully you already realized, but acrylic paints are not washable. And so that everybody's happy, you should probably have an apron on or your paint clothes, right? Your clothes that don't matter if you get something on them. So that is just a thought. Okay, there we go. Nice. So now I have this awesome ombre effect. It goes from light to a little darker, and then I actually grabbed straight tan off my plate, left all the light tan in my brush, grabbed the brown off my plate, and I am just dabbing right here on the edge purposefully on top of the Sharpie lines. Okay. So now I'm going to clean this brush out really well. And I am going to talk to you about how to make a mustardy yellow. So I have yellow on my plate. I am going to grab me a chunk of white and mix that in first. Okay, by doing this, I am making my color less see-through. So anytime you can add a chunk of white to your color, yes, it lightens it, but it also makes it not so see-through. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky. I am going to grab just a ant size, let's see if it'll focus, or mini, anyway, mini chocolate chip amount of purple. And I am going to mix that into my yellow. Now, make sure you keep your mixture in one little pile. Okay, so mix. Just like that. And you keep adding purple until you like your version of yellow. And it does kind of take on a little bit of a golden effect. Like a golden sunshiny effect, or you could say it just looks like mustard right out of the bottle, right? Okay, then you roll your brush off to get all the extra off because we do not want a lot of extra paint in our brush. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start in the points and I am going to follow the curve of the petal down to close to my center. Maybe not exactly in the center, but close. So we start at the point, follow it around. Start at the point, follow it around. Start at the point, follow it around, start at the point, and I am using a fairly gentle touch because if I push really hard, it's going to make my brush stroke a lot thicker, and then I may have a blob at the end of my petal instead of a point. Okay, and then you can do the same thing coming back towards the center of your flower. Now be very careful not to touch the center, or you will have that color mixed into your flower petal. Okay, so here we go. Here we go. Awesome. And get right on over into here. And I don't want to forget my edges. I almost forgot this side. There we go. And then I'll come on over to here. If you don't have some fun music playing, now might be a good time to pause and get some fun music going. Go get a little yummy snack maybe. And then you can hit play once you get caught up with me. Okay, so I know that I am not in the center of my flower. Okay, I understand that. Now, very carefully, I think I'm going to flip this one more time because it's easier for me to pull my brush down than it is to flick up. Plus, I want to get right next to the center without actually touching it. And what I'm doing is I'm starting at the center and then I'm pulling my brush down and then I'm flicking it towards my wrist. Start at the center, pull down, flick. And if the petal has a curve like the outside edges, then your flick does a little curve. Now, if you are accidentally getting into the center of your flower and you're getting frustrated, what I would recommend is go get a blow dryer, blow dry, blow dry, blow dry, blow dry, or walk away from it for a minute. Go have a dance party, right? And then come back to it, and or go have a snack and then come back to it. It'll be just dry enough because acrylics dry really quick to where you can get back to work on this. That is the such cool part about being able to do art at home, is you have a lot more freedom to be able to walk away from your canvas and come back to it because you're not under a time constraint. You can take all the time in the world to work on this, right? Okay, ta-da. Now, I want to, just for fun, I want to pop in some extra, here we go, some extra color. Like, I love this and I think it's beautiful, but I just want a little something extra. So I'm going to grab a tiny bit of red because I don't have any orange. And over on the side of my yellow, I am going to mix that tiny bit of red into my yellow so that I've created a little, that way, a little bit of an orangey effect. Maybe I'll grab a little bit more. Okay. Then I'm going to do the same thing that I've already done. Start at the tip, pull around. Start at the tip, pull around. And by doing this, I am creating a little bit of contrast on the border. And you could even do this with a completely different color. But if you choose to do it with a completely different color, make sure your yellow or whatever your petal color is dry. Otherwise, you might accidentally mix something that you didn't know would happen and wind up with a mucky color. Okay, just saying. So, Maybe do a little tester on your plate or something before you commit to the canvas. So now I'm starting at the center and I'm doing that whole pull and flick my wrist motion. So grab a little bit more. And notice in the center it's more straight and on the edges it's more curved. There we go. There we go. Awesome. And then if I wanted to get real crazy, so I could leave it like this, or if I wanted to get real crazy, like I was saying earlier, you go blow dry or you let it dry, and then you can pop in some extra colors. Like I've done this before where after my base color dried, then I popped in like some pink and some excuse me, purple. You could pop in some turquoise. That would be really pretty. So you could have a lot of fun, but let the base layer dry. You cannot rush art. You just have to relax and enjoy, right? So I am gonna grab, this is just straight red and it is the teeniest amount right on the tips. And I am going to just pop in just a teeny bit. Just a little bit, just to create a little bit more contrast. So I have my mustardy yellow, I have my orangey yellow, and now I am putting straight red on top, which does not look red, by the way. It kind of looks a little orangey. And that is what it looks like. Now, if I wanted to, I could take this same pointy brush that I'm using, clean it real good, of course dry it really good. If you do not dry your brush, you will create a little bit of an issue for yourself, because if you take a wet brush and you put it on the canvas, all the water will just go rolling down. I'm going to grab a little bit more brown and I am going to dab right here on the edges, just to try to cover up that Sharpie line a little bit better. Okay, there we go. Woohoo! Nice. Okay, so I hope that you enjoyed this process. Of course, you could continue working on this. You could add some designs to the background. You could put some swirls in there. It's really like, really, you can take this as far as you want, or you can keep it as simple as you want. And sometimes that depends on the age of the kiddos that are doing this project with you. If they're younger, you may want to keep it a little bit more simple so that they feel successful doing this solo on their own. It's really tempting to want to get in and help them, but I've learned from doing this for so long that a lot of them really want to do it on their own. And so if you jump in there and help them, they might get a little mad and frustrated with you. So you always ask their permission first, because this is their piece of art, not yours, even if you guys are going to hang them together. So that's one thing to think about. Plus, they're trying to do something special with you and for you, right? All right. So that is just a little swirl that I kind of stuck in there in the background just to add a little more texture. So I really loved doing this project with you, and I hope that you enjoyed the process and that when you hang these up together that you are just super proud of yourselves and it's up on display and you'll have a memory that you'll never forget. Thanks guys so much for hanging out with me, and I cannot wait to do some more art with you.